On today's episode of After Rehearsal, Behind the Music, we tune in with dancer, singer, songwriter, and instrumentalist Folami Moor from Kingston, Jamaica. You're going to get an awesome opportunity to learn about her music, her projects, what she's pulling together, and the heart of what has inspired her journey. Stay tuned. At its origin, where did Folami Moor come from, and what does the name mean to you? And like, let's go back to the beginning.
To the beginning.
The
Okay.
beginning of your
So,
music journey, beginning of this, you as an artist. Like let's learn about who you are.
my career as an artist and a musician started in 2020. Anytime I say to people, I'm like, you can pinpoint it to March 2020 during COVID, when the world shut down. That exact point. Up until that point, I was a professional dancer. So I was doing music videos, I was doing commercials, I was doing shows, the whole 9 yards. That was it. That was my goal. I said, I think maybe when I was 16 or 17, when I'm 30, I'll start my music career. That's the exact conversation I had with myself. And I was gonna dance. I was gonna wait till my body no longer, because the older you get, you're not as, agile. And as I'm like, I'll do my music afterwards. I'll work my body until my body says, girl, stop. And so that was the plan up until that point. COVID happened and we had to be home. And it was a traumatic moment for a lot of us because of how quickly it happened. I can only speak for in Jamaica though, how quickly it happened. Because the first case, somebody came into the airport, they lost a person. In 20 minutes, they were sending us home, the place was shutting down. Everybody had to go. So it was like a bit of like a frenzy. And that kind of set off this domino effect of life is short. You never know what the next day is gonna bring. And the plan I had in my head of, oh, when I get to 30, I'm gonna start music. I don't know if I'm gonna make it to 30. So like what's stopping me? And what worked in my favor as well is that I had a lot of time to myself during COVID. So there was a lot of isolation. And from that isolation, words just words and melodies really started to get deafening. Like I was really hearing stuff and like I'm like, no, I need to put this down. I need to jot this down. I need to write. I need to. But before that, how I expressed myself, I was dancing. I was moving. But no, I had another avenue of how I was gonna express myself. And I picked up some books and I started writing and I got my iPad and I went on GarageBand and I started just like, dabbling in it and like figuring out what it is that I wanted to bring to the world of music. Because you can't just jump into it and be like, oh, I'm gonna no, no. I had to take some time. So that was in March of 2020. And I sat with it the whole summer and sat with it into going into fall. And in November of 2020 was the first time I went to a studio. A friend of mine had a studio up in the hills. And I went with him and I had another friend in the studio who was making a track and he just wanted some background vocals on it. And I just sang some background vocals and they loved it. Everybody was raving. And I'm like, really? And that was the first moment I was like, okay, maybe I can do this for real. Okay. So then I had to I was in it now,
Yeah.
right? I was like, I made a decision that this is what I'm going to do. So I was in it. And I had to figure out what name I was gonna go by. I didn't want to use my birth name because it's personal,
Yeah.
but it's also not who I was. Or
Right.
not who I was, not who I wanted to be in terms of like an artist. I'm like, I don't want to. So I went by my middle name. And my middle name is Anaje. And I went by that for, I want to say, 4 years. I went by that name, actually, no, 5 years, coming up onto 5 years. And I went by Anaje for 5 years. I I did shows under that name. I performances. I represented my country
Yeah.
in Hungary under
Oh,
that name.
that's awesome.
Yeah, that was cool. I mean, I've been awarded some things, and that was pretty cool. And I did everything under that name, and it was going on this uphill trajectory. Everybody had ideas of what they wanted, and they're like, "I think you should do this. I think your career will benefit if you do this." And I remembered everything was just coming all at once. And I hadn't really like released a single because I knew I wanted to be a producer in music. I knew I
Yeah.
wanted to like produce. I wanted to set my mark as a producer before people actually heard how I sounded because that meant a lot to me. I was genuinely passionate about soundtracks and watching movies and scores, and I was genuinely interested in that world, and I needed people to take me seriously.
Right.
And coming from a dancer, come from being a dancer, I knew a lot of people.
Right.
They knew me as a dancer. So I'd go into spaces and like, oh, you coming to dance? No, I'm coming to what? No, I'm not. So I had to like,
Reinvent yourself.
yeah, and it took a while, but I'm glad that I had the patience to kind of go through the motions of not feeling like I was stalled and my career is not and do all of that. So that was from 2020 up until 2024 when I had released my album, the instrumental album, the first time.
Yes.
The first time I had released it, it was called Metaphor for Sunday. And I wanted it to be, so a metaphor is like comparing, words without using as or like. I wanted to have something that is synonymous with Sunday.
Hmm.
Cleaning your house.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're like relaxing, when you're watching TV or when the ice cream man passes in the afternoon. There's a vibe to Sunday that we all have our own personal experiences. And if you ask somebody, what does Sunday feel like to you? They're going to say something. And you ask somebody else, they're going to say something else. I wanted something that was synonymous with Sunday, that captured the vibe and the essence of what a Sunday felt like for me. And in when I came to the realization that I wasn't being intentional with what I was doing and how I was doing it, that's when the shift happened from Anaje to Folami Moor. That was when that kind of period. So between November 2024 to March 2025, there was this whole revamp. And I was like, I have to be intentional about everything.
Hmm.
And what followed was I wasn't intentional about my name. I thought to myself, I wasn't intentional about my name. I just went by that name because I didn't want to go by my
Your
birth
birth
name.
name. Right.
It was a simple enough name where I could remember it. And if somebody was to call me, I won't like not look at them because I forget it's my name. I realized I wasn't as intentional as I wanted to be
Right.
to make the music I wanted to make. So that's when I kind of sat with it for a while. And I came up with the name in February, and I released my first single, Blue Eyes, in March of 2025. So this is so funny, but it's tried and true and it works. I remember Childish Gambino was having this conversation. I remember if it was like a podcast or interview. He was talking to somebody though, and they asked him where did his name come from, and he said he like went into a random name generator. I think it was like a Wu-Tang name generator or something to that effect, and it gave him Childish Gambino, and he went by. He was content, and I'm like, I need to be content too. So I just pop open my computer, type it in, and it randomly gave me this name, Folami something another. It was this very Afrocentric last name,
Hmm.
a Koi something another, and I'm like, that seems like it could be an actual person's real name in the continent of Africa. So I probably just won't do that.
Yeah.
But I really love the name Folami. And then I did some research on it, and Folami means respect. Because I want people to respect the craft, the music. I want people to respect the what I'm giving. And I took Folami and I tried a couple more times in the name generator and it just wasn't giving me anything that was like vava vooming.
Yeah.
So I said, what do I represent? And not to just put myself in a box, but I represent Blackness in all of its form. I represent a culture, I represent a people, I represent a passion, I represent a pride, which is Blackness across so many, many places. And that's how Moore came to be, because
Hmm.
Moore was just Black. And I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, so Fulani, respect, Moore, Blackness. And I just put them together and it just came respect the Black. And
I love that.
that was when I kind of pieced everything together. You know that moment when your heart feels, I was like,
Yeah. I was like, this is it. This is it.
it felt warm. I felt the warmth kind of rush through my body. I was like, yeah, this is it.
Hmm.
This is it. And I started down that new what do you call it, identity.
Yeah.
And not to say that it's different from myself in the way that it's like a dual personality or it's somebody completely different. It's just another version of me that is existing outside of how I'm existing now. And I had to really just had to really make it how I wanted.
Hmm.
And yeah, that's how we came to that.
I love
So
that.
it's a quick little, it's
I
not
love
quick 'cause
that.
it's for a minute, but kind of like throw everything in there that's gonna make it make as much sense as possible. So yeah.
So talk about your origins being in Jamaica and how the music, the culture, um, and the people have shaped who you are as an artist.
So whew, I grew up with my mom and my dad, and my brother. So it was just four of us in a traditional nuclear family. And when I was really young, around 9 years old, I lost my dad. He tragically passed away, and it it was a turning point in terms of like me and my identity and my personality. But prior to that, he gave me this beautiful gift, which is my love of music. Now he had records upon records upon records upon records. Jamaica has this very big car system culture. So they put like big speakers in the backs of their cars, in the windows of their cars, and it'd be like a traveling sound system. He was a mechanic at Air Jamaica, but his passion was music. So he had those big speakers, and like you heard him before you saw him. Like when he turned on the street, that everything is booming. You felt it. And there was so much joy from like having that experience growing up. And he introduced me to a lot of songs, which is why I said my sound is so eclectic now, because he introduced me to a lot of music. It was pop, it was rock, it was reggae, it was gospel, it was everything under the sun. That man was playing it. And that is how I think I kind of began to like shape my identity into like funk and reggae, because reggae is the sound of Jamaica. But then I was introduced to funk music really early. I'm like, I love this, but I love this. Why can't I have both of them? Like, what's stopping me? So I eventually did that. But just to touch a little bit more on the culture, Jamaica is very heavy when it comes to music. Our culture is very deeply rooted in our identity when it comes to music, whether it's dancehall, whether it's gospel, whether it's reggae music. we love music, and everything we do has kind of like made space for music to like inspire. I went to a performing arts college. So in my late teens, early adult years, I was going to live music shows. And I had kind of sent you a couple that my friends had started. It's gotten so big. Oh my day. I can't wait for you to like experience. But I went to school with these youths. I went to school with them when they were just learning their instruments, and live music, going to every show. Once we had to sing once like Pananak Medere. So any sound I make, I'm there. I have to be front row experiencing it. And I love that. I loved how music can really inspire and change the heart, change your mood. It can make you feel some things you never thought about. And I'm just so grateful. Can't stop saying it. I'm so grateful that I had that experience, because not a lot of people get to like experience that, and it's new for them. I'm so glad I know what like a live music event sounds like. I know that feeling. And I took, so kind of like how I use that to like craft the sound a little bit. Reggae is heavily, you know, that bass line.
Bass.
Boom, dum, 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 dum. That bass line, when that bass line drives
Yes.
you, ugh,
Feel
listen,
that.
you wake up. If you're sleeping before, you wake up. You wake up. That
Yes.
wake you up. And I
Yes.
was like, that I love that. That's one of my favorite things about reggae music. It's that driving bass line. I love it so much. And that one drop, but that bass line is second to none in my humble opinion. And it's similar to funk. Funk bass line is not touchy. Come on.
Come
I
on.
feel like that's why I feel like that's why I feel like funk and reggae are like two sides of the same coin.
Yes.
But I felt like their their fusion wasn't being explored enough in my culture. I'm sure other parts of the world I'm not doing anything new.
Yeah.
Other people have done it. Before, I think maybe the most notable would be Third World. Third World really explored that sound and really kind of like brought it to a new audience. Because before that, Jamaican people were just listening to like local sounds. They weren't really like, you weren't coming to Jamaica in the 80s and hearing rock, but rock was like powerful across the world. Everybody, rock was everywhere. And that led to grunge, and that led to, you know what I mean? But in
Yes.
Jamaica, no,
You want to hear that?
that's not what we were doing. So, and Third World is huge. Third World is big. Everybody knows Third World. But the sound had just kind of did this and then like stopped. Like
Yeah.
it wasn't like, but people where I'm from, people weren't picking it up. And I just thought to myself, why not? This is brilliant. Why aren't we exploring here more? And
Right.
I made it personal mission, my personal mission to explore that sound. So if I were to pinpoint my sound and like how I describe it, it'd be that exact lane. The perfect blend between funk and reggae, a futuristic funky reggae, if you will,
Yeah.
but along that line, just natural, raw, beautiful culture kind of just mixed up into that amazing sound. Yeah.
And I would 100% agree, because when I listened to the Dream, I was like, okay, 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 and then I'm hearing it. It's it's a beautifully eclectic album that is unpredictable, and I think that is what made it so unique and beautiful. Because as soon as I believe, because I'm applying my theory mind. I'm a nerd about this. I've been a musician 20 years. I play, whatever. It's like I'm applying all the stuff that I'm like, oh, okay, she's gonna go here. Okay, she's gonna nope. And then as soon as that track is over, it's like flips, and you're like, what? Okay, like it's such a beautiful journey because as soon as you start to get used to what something is going to be, it completely changes, and that is what made the entire album a journey because every every track had its different timbre, it had different instrumentation, it had different feels, tempos, and I'm like, okay, this is a journey for sure. And so I had to, all right, go back to the top. We playing it back. And so for me, when I listen to music, I consume it. And so I consume it, I analyze it, I take a look at everything that it is for it is, and it was certainly a journey that I really appreciated. So tell me, what was your approach when you were working on that?
You get ready for this one.
Yeah.
So the dream, let's just go with the name first. So the dream, a dream is, we all know what a dream is.
Right.
Not like a goal or like a mission that you want to attain, like an actual physical dream. We know what it is.
Right.
Dreams are unpredictable. You never know what you're getting with a
Yes.
dream. You never go into a dream like, oh, I'm gonna dream about rainbows and ponies and cheesecake. No.
Yeah.
You dream about whatever. The mind plays whatever it wants to play, and
Whatever.
you're just gonna have to watch it. You're gonna have to feel it. You're gonna have to be in it, but you get no say so.
None.
And there's a certain like unpredictability with dreaming that I really kind of like gravitated towards. And I was like, I don't want people to feel like they know what's gonna come next, and
Yeah.
then like subconsciously get bored, or like I want them to constantly be like, what is, even if it's good, bad, or in between, I want them to feel something. And that was the goal going into the dream. I was like, I want them to feel something. I don't want them to expect it. I don't want them to anticipate. I just want them to take in whatever it is that I'm giving them as it is. And that was the catalyst. I was just like, I'm just, they're not gonna expect it. And I left it. When I had kind of really sat down and like decided the themes that I was gonna, because that was the first thing I needed to kind of like solidify the themes I was gonna work with. And the beauty of dreaming is that it comes with so much. It comes with so much. Some people get inspiration from dreaming. Some people get anxiety from dreaming. Some
Right.
people get fearful. Some people get bliss. It's so many different things, and you never know what you're going to get at that moment. And sometimes dreams shift.
Right.
You be dreaming about one thing, and then no, you're like on top of the Eiffel Tower doing the Macarena. Dreams are funny. And I wanted to capture the essence of dreaming. So you notice that some tracks are longer than others, some tracks are really short,
Yeah.
some tracks like jump into other ones, some tracks like take time and like transition into each other. And some tracks they're just like, well, that's it.
Right.
Okay. I guess
Right.
we're not doing anything more to that. It's
Yeah.
it's it's very much like that. And I wanted to, the the goal is I wanted to capture sonically the essence of a dream. And I wanted to just do
Yes.
that. And once I had like the first couple tracks like set down,
Mhm.
I had a template of where I was going to go. So Orbit, or In Orbit, it wasn't called In Orbit, it was originally called Orbit. And this is kind of low-key lazy, but I had registered some of those tracks already from the previous time I had released it.
See it change the title.
BMI was giving me just a headache about
Give you the blues.
I was like, here, well, I can't be bothered. I just changed the names. I just added a couple words,
Hmm.
some of the titles, and re-registered them. I was not about to go through that headache.
Yeah.
I was like, no, I can't be bothered. So, but it works. It worked out better in my favor because it really like drove the story and the themes along.
Right.
And so when I did Orbit, it was very kind of like outer space, very like not in a distinct world. It's very much out there. And I knew I could go so many places from there.
Right.
So many things I could do from that. And I led into kind of going into a new place. Going into a new place, which is a lunar dichotomy, going into this new place of kind of unsurety,
Yep.
but it's similar. It's like it's familiar, but it's I'm unsure. I've never experienced this, but this is something that seems familiar to me, to my soul. And
Like a beautiful unsettling, but knowing that it's going to resolve, but not in the way you want it to resolve.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
So I really wanted to kind of lean into that as much as I could and still have a story. So people don't know the story until I tell them the story that kind of like follows the journey of of the dream. Um, but it's just very much about this girl who is she left her home, went to this new place, and she has to like learn about them. And she realized that they're not that different from what I know. They're not different from me. They're in somewhere, they're in another place, but they're not different. A lot of the things that they do is what I do. So you have in Orbit, this is the transition from my place to this new environment. Lunar dichotomy is like coming upon this new place and being like, I, you're fighting your fight or flight senses. Like, what do I do in this moment? This is so familiar, but I don't know what's going on. But and then New World Phenom kind of like just puts the to me puts the listener into this settled place of okay, we're going into somewhere new. It's a new world. It's a phenomenon. I've never seen this before. I've never experienced it, but it's so beautiful. It's so eye-opening. It's so warm. It's so welcoming. And going from New World Phenom, there was a level of kind of peace that I wanted to kind of bring back. Because you're like, they're not fast paced. They're like mid tempos in the beginning, kind of coming up. I wanted to kind of just like slow it down and tone it down a little bit. So that's To the Sky is kind of this reconnection, if you will. It's this reconnection of I'm I think, and I could be wrong, but I think the sky is a constant. And what I mean by the sky is a constant is that it's not going anywhere. And it's not going anywhere, but it's not going to look the same every time you see it. You can look up now and see a cloud and come back 30 minutes and that cloud is not going to be there. And for the extent of your lifetime, you're never going to see that cloud in that exact same spot in the sky again. Just based on science. I mean, some people are like, maybe I have, I don't know. I don't know. I'm just saying, based on what I know and what I learned, that cloud is not going to be back in that same spot when I check 20 years from now. So that was what I wanted to do to the sky. It's kind of this yearning, this kind of looking towards like help me to like be okay with this newness. Help me be okay with the fact that things aren't how they were. And they're never gonna be how they were. I have to travel this journey and like go through this newness and like figure it out and be okay with figuring it out. So at the end of To the Sky, into Sinnerman. Sinnerman is kind of the so the album is actually in three parts. Tell me if I'm talking long enough because I can yap. The middle part, it's the album is in three sections, and Sinnerman is the beginning of the middle section of the album. So Sinnerman is really kind of like her identity, kind of like reforming itself based on the new environment, and kind of like having this just, she's figuring it out as her, not what she knew prior, which is orbit and lunar dichotomy, newer phenom. The realization happened into the sky, but this is her figuring it out right now. And Cinnamon is specifically the dream. So the idea happens, and there is, so at the end of the sky, bear with me. So at the end of To the Sky, there's like a gasp. That gasp is like an awakening. It's like a, you know, when you wake up from a dream, like, oh Jesus. It's very much this awakening moment, and the realization and the new transformation happens. And at the end of Sinnerman, into Sinner's Paradise, you, if you listen closely, you hear like writing, like like a pen writing on paper. That's her writing down the idea. Because sometimes when you wake up from a dream, you know you can lose it. You ever try to tell somebody how a dream about how the details of a dream you had, and you're like, I don't remember write it down, you lose it. So she gets up from this dream, and she's in this, she's figuring out this new reality, and she's doing all of this, and she just writes it down. And it continues. So the album kind of picks up on her journey into this new version of herself, and how she was crying. And it's very like a story of myself, like figuring out Folami Moor. But she goes through this journey, and there are a lot of fun tracks in there, you know, there are a lot of fun tracks along the way. And it calms down towards the end. So the resolution in the album for me is Dreamer's Jam in my head. That's actually the last track on the album. And then Music Man, the world Music Man follows. That's more of like, you know, when you go to the movies and you watch you watch a movie, and then you watch the credits, and then you see the post. You know, like MCU has a lot of like post credit scenes. The world Music Man is like the post credit scene on my album. So it's kind of, she's still searching. She gets to that point, and she figures herself out. No, she needs to search for something else. What it may be, you don't know. You have to stick around to figure it out. But the story's getting there. But Music Man, the world Music Man is her going on another journey, because she has completed this journey of finding herself and figuring herself out, and like crafting a world that she wants, and she wants to be in, and she wants to kind of just be expressive and all of these beautiful things. And it's mixed up, it's messy, it's unpredictable,
Yeah,
but it's hers. So she's content with that, and she's now on this new journey. So
I love
yeah,
that.
we're in a state of we're in the state of purgatory, if you will, when it comes to Music Man, the world Music Man, because we're still in that. It's like a minute and some long, but we're still in that stage.
Mhm.
In where when it comes to my music, we're still on that journey. So I just left that for people
Mhm.
to kind of just to hook it at the back of their heads.
I love
So
that. I love that.
yeah,
It's the I think more than anything, it's not only the track itself, the progression, the story, the message behind it, the inspiration that brings it, but also the minute details that you put into all of those particular things, the gasp, the writing, the even the transitions and where the songs are placed within themselves, those details being so incredibly important in your process. And so I'm loving just seeing the totality of how you've compiled your music together.
I another thing I did was because I was a dancer, I used my body a lot when I was making this album. I just dance,
Hmm.
and then based on my movements, make progressions based on those movements. And what that kind of did for me is it opened up my creativity, because dance and music are so similar yet so different. You just have to find, you know, the spots
Right.
in it to take from each of them to kind of like make the other thing better. So I tapped into my dance life to really create something that I'm so proud of. So proud of. And my heart is just so happy that I finally did it and I'm done with, oh no, this needs a little bit more. Oh no, this I'm not and like to a trained ear,
Hmm.
there are some things in it that could be improved, and that's
Right.
okay. I'm not an engineer. I mixed the album on my own because it was a goal that I had for myself. I said
Right.
I want to mix and I want to do this album and I want to be so intentional about every single detail. And I I have friends who mix. I have friends who are engineers, and I reached out to them, and they gave me tips and pointers on like how to pan things and how to do all of these things just to make it
Yeah.
so cohesive. And I'm like, and I was always with my book and my pen or my iPhone notes or anywhere I could write down, and I would ask so many questions. Don't be
Yeah.
afraid to ask questions, guys. Don't be afraid. It's pride that will
Hmm.
sometimes stop us, but don't be afraid. You never know. You never know who's there to help you. You never
You never
know.
know.
So for my next project, I probably won't mix it because that's a headache and a half. I won't
Look,
do that again.
look. You thought taking a look at all the details of your music was one part. Mixing,
Yikes.
man. Yeah.
Yikes, man. Yikes,
Yeah.
yikes, yikes, yikes. I called my friend a couple times, boohoo crying. Like it's not sounding. I listened to it in my monitors and it sounded one way. And now I'm hearing it in the car. It sounds like I'm freaking out, losing my mind.
Yes.
And he's it's okay.
Yeah.
Just relax.
It's
And
good.
told him the problem and he said, try this, try doing this, take this out. Your ears can play tricks on you sometimes,
Absolutely.
especially if you're so used to. They call it. I saw this recently. They call it demotitis, where like your ears are so used to hearing a certain version of a track that
Yes.
anything else just sounds wrong.
Foreign.
And I just had to really. I took this album took me through there, for real. I had to really like just
Yeah.
humble myself and just take in what I need to take in. But as I said, I'm not doing that again. I'll produce, but I'm not mixing. I'm not mixing ever again. In my, I'm good.
Yeah.
I'm so good when it comes to that. But
I
I'm
love
glad I
that.
have experience,
Yeah.
knowledge to say this is what I did. This is what I need to do. This is what needs to be done, so I can backseat drive
Right.
from here. But yeah, for the rest of it, I'm good.
I love that because through the journey, there's so much that we learn, and watching you have such a hand-on experience and learning those things, whether it be taking tips from dancing, experiencing your own, creating the music, recording it, editing it, releasing it, mastering it, all within yourself, really point to a lot of high points and things that you're proud of. What are within your life and career low points or aspects of times that you felt that you were at your absolute lowest? What did it feel like while you were there, and what was something that you really leaned on or thought of to get you out of there?
I felt like this was coming. Um, I think the most notable would be losing a parent very young. That would do irreparable damage to like a lot of people. And for a while, I thought that yeah, this is gonna be me. Cause like, what do you mean? I was angry. I was so angry. And imagine being a little girl and just angry with everybody, with everybody, everything, all the time. I was still pleasant, but internally, inside, I was angry. And when I got to high school, I was adamant that I wasn't gonna listen to anybody. I was like, no, who are you talking to? Why are you talking to me like that? I kind of had this hyper independence kind of developed from that. And I'm like, who are you talking to? Why are you talking to me like that? talk to me with respect or you're not getting any from me. And I grew up in I went to a traditional high school in Jamaica, you know. So when those people say jump, you say how high. That was the mentality. And I was like, watch your mouth. I wasn't violent, but like I was adamant. I was like, you're not talking to me like that. Fix how you're speaking to me, and I'll fix how I'm speaking to you. Looking back at it, that was obviously a problem. But at the time, I was like, I'm right in what I'm doing. I'm right. And that was a problem for a very long time. I used to just feel like I'm right. I'm like, listen, I'm right. I don't care. I don't want to hear it. I don't care. I was still pleasant. I'm generally a pleasant person, but I don't want to hear it. Stop talking to me about this. It was my way or the highway. Literally, it was my way or the highway. Because I used to just believe, not because you tell me something different means it's the correct thing to do. I wanted to be able to make my own mistakes and figure it out. And I had to grow into a sense of maturity that people aren't telling me these things necessarily because they just want to they're telling me so that I don't make the mistakes. I can avoid making those mistakes. I can know what's on the road ahead. I can know these things. But in my youth, whew, I was a handful, and it was just my mom. So she got the brunt of it. She got the brunt of and then you add in puberty on top of that and hormones and just everything. I was just so angry. I was so angry. And I think all of it came to a head. And when I say you can pinpoint everything to March of 2020, you really and truly can pinpoint everything to March of 2020. There something had happened at school, and because I was in charge of the project, naturally when things don't go right, the responsibility and the blame kind of like falls onto you. And I wasn't prepared for it to fall onto me because I'm like, it's out of my control. This happened because it was out of my control, you know, and the blame wasn't shifting. I'm like, we don't need to blame anybody. We can just fix the problem. But it felt like a lot of the blame was just solely pouring onto me. And I was like, why? And I got so angry again. Like, why? I don't get it. I'm not understanding. Why is it just on me? I'm trying to do what I need to do. I'm trying to be better. I'm trying to help. I'm trying to like figure this out. Why is it seemed like everybody's not trying to get a solution. They're just trying to like pin the blame and stay in that spot. And I was just so livid. And I remembered um let's just say my mom was very worried about me. And she called some people and it took some time and I kind of just like relaxed. I really needed to relax my mind. I was very overwhelmed. I was overworked. I was overburdened. And COVID happened shortly after. So when COVID happened, I really had that time to sit down. And when my body wasn't being preoccupied by movement, my mind had the space to kind of like really do some things. And this is
Right.
what it did.
What would you say? Would you? What role would you say music played in your healing process? Because a lot of folks, you and I both know that music can be healing within itself. Whether it be we're going through something and we're listening to that song, help us to transition from different emotions and things like that. But for your own aspect in creating music, how healing was that as you now have reshaped your mind and really have shifted from how you were to now during and post COVID, now in a trajectory that's different?
I think for just in its simplest form, music is very kind of like, I'd say music is adjacent to life. And people say art replicates life or a life replicates art. Either way, you are the egg, whatever you want to say. For me, music had this amazing ability to, it was an avenue for me to like release a lot of the things I didn't know how to. I didn't know how to talk to people about certain things. I didn't know how to, and music was that avenue. So when I realized I couldn't do something, or I couldn't talk to anybody, and in music, when I couldn't get that drum to line up with that guitar, to line up with that bass, you know what I mean? It was a problem that I had to figure out. And I had to get to a solution because I can't leave it like that or it's gonna sound like crap. And every time I listen to it, it's gonna sound like crap. So that was the baby stepping, the teeny baby stepping stone. I was like, okay, let me take this first step. And I quantized it. And it was where it needed to be. And that was a small thing. There were other things that were, but that was a small thing that I fixed. And it made the world of a difference. And it shined a light on the other problems and how I could possibly fix them. And it was very similar to my life. Don't try to boil the ocean.
Break that
Never,
down. Break that down. Come on.
you'll never be successful at it. A friend of mine always says it when I get like overwhelmed, and he's like, Anna, stop trying to boil the ocean. I want to do everything at once, all the time, and it's never going to work. You're trying to do something that is physically impossible. You can't try to get this thing done if your mind is not in the space to do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just you're creating unnecessary stress for yourself. And I had to really stop. So that COVID again, I had to really stop and figure out how I wanted to make the music, but how I also wanted to use it as therapy for myself.
Yeah.
So when I couldn't figure out the drums and I couldn't figure out how my student loan was going to get paid, I took a small step and I quantized it and I fixed the drums. And I took a small step and I took a job somewhere I didn't want to,
Yeah.
because it was just like in my mind, it was taking me away from the music and the dreams that I had.
Right.
But I knew I had to get it done because I had other things to think about. I had other business to deal with. To the job, did what I needed to do. And it wasn't that bad. It wasn't that bad. I left because like I had bigger dreams for myself and I'm like,
Right.
here, no.
Right.
But at the time, it was just like take small steps. When you get there, you figure it out.
Yeah.
You're here right now. You need to get from here to here. And that's why I did it. Every time I'm here and I need to get here, I think of this journey. And when I get there, I figure out the rest. But
Yeah.
for right now, this is where I need to be. That's all. Right now, I'm living in a prayer. Something I dreamt about and prayed about years ago, I'm actively doing right now. And I have to keep reminding myself that this is what is happening. And if I did it then and I'm doing it now, I can do
You
it
can
in
do
the
it
future.
again. I love
That's
that.
just why that is just how I go through life, man. Listen, my world is I live in a fairy tale and people know this about me, but I live in a very whimsical world and everything is what I make it because I have to create my own sanity. The world is
Mhm.
already messed up.
Right.
I don't want to live in a messed up reality. Obviously, I'm taking in the messed up reality because it's happening, and in the
Right.
real world, this is what's happening. But for my own peace of mind, I had to create this space where I was able to let go and I really relax into who I need to be to get what I need to get done. And that's just how I created that beautiful little space.
I love
Yeah.
that. I
Hope
love
I answered
that.
the question.
You
I've been
did. You really
talking.
have. You really have. I got one more question for you. Because I know this is part one of like infinity of interviews that we're gonna do. Because
Yeah,
yes,
we're gonna do
yeah,
so much.
we
There's
yes.
so much more. Mhm.
Looking ahead, where do you see your sound evolving next? So earlier you said success is subjective. You want to be in the mountain, live in the mountain, have the goats, and the chicken and the cattle and such. But as an artist, what does your future success look like? What do you desire for that to look like? And then, where are you really aspiring towards as you're building with now 6 years in, almost 6 years in to your journey as an artist?
So I think the main shift has already happened, and I'm like steadfast on this journey of being a a movie producer. It has always been my passion. I love soundtracks. I love movie scores. Um, I'm not, you know, my relating my career to him, but Hans Zimmer has truly like inspired me in a way that I cannot go back from. I need to do this because every time I do it, I feel my most alive. I feel my most free. I feel my most intentional. And I don't want to make like conventional, pop music and like be a pop star. That's not where the goal is. If that happens, you use your blessings as they come. But for me, where I see myself scoring movies, making tracks, that's what I want to do. Maybe, a little something put aside so that my little kids can, have I can have some little nepo babies. Yeah, I want them to eat the fruits of my labor as it relates to that. But the goal is just I want longevity. I want 70 years from now, somebody is watching a movie and my grandkids go, "That's my grandma that made that." And I'd be in my grave so happy. Just that's me in my grave happy. And that's that's what that's what I want. That's where it's always been. And it hasn't really shifted. Living up in the mountains with my little farm animals, that's just like a perk. You know what I mean? That's what the money gets me, the peace of mind to be able to do that and not have to constantly work uh, when I get to a certain age. But for now, as far ahead in the future as I can see, that is where it's at.
I love that.
And my elephant.
And your elephant.
Yes.
I love that. I absolutely love that. Well, I appreciate you being on this podcast, having this incredible conversation. Folami Moor, anything you want to share to your audience that they can be expecting next or things that they need to be looking out for?
Yes, please. So right now I have my instrumental album, The Dream. It's available on all streaming platforms. We spoke a bit about it today. So if you guys want to have like first-hand experience, um, go ahead and listen to it. Feel free. There's no pressure. It's everywhere. But I implore you, give it a listen. Um, I know we spoke about like instrumental music a lot, but I do have a couple vocal tracks coming out. That's the next phase. The next phase of the development is kind of where I started, but I'm going back now because I feel like a lot of this story needs to be told in this way. I feel like the beginning has been told in the instrumental way. Now it needs to be told in this way. And you kind of, a lot of the stuff I spoke about today, you kind of get a better insight on when you listen to those tracks. So those are coming soon. I have a single coming out called Vademecum / Brand New Paradise. It's gonna be a this is a mouthful, guys. It's gonna be a reggae rock funk track. It's mixed up, but it's really good. So can't wait to share that with you guys.
Thank you for tuning in to today's episode of After Rehearsal, Behind the Music with Daniel James Collective. We had an awesome opportunity to meet with Folami Moor, learn about her region, her history, her music, and everything in between, and her latest album, The Dream, which is certainly a journey from start to finish. Stay tuned for more. Share, comment, and subscribe to the pod.